Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your girl Mitzi, and this is Mitzi. Let's think about it. Today, we are thinking about improving parent child relationships. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is a thinker, and that is what we will be thinking about. I have my special guest, my returning special guest, Riana, here, who's going to be helping us really thinking about this in a whole new light. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and dive in and let's break this concept down because it's a big statement. So let's break it down. So when you hear the words parent child relationship, just that alone, what does that make you think about?
Is that my question?
Yes,
Or is it
that's
the audience's question? Or
that's
for
your
both of
question.
us, right? Okay. Well, I think of my two wonderful daughters and six grandchildren. My girls are now 40 and 41, Alexi and Stefana. And their life was not easy. It's with me as a single mom. I divorced their dad when they were about 4 or 5. But I knew that I could be a good, safe, emotionally healthy space for them and raise them with confidence and self esteem and empowerment, especially being daughters. And they were out on their own, supporting themselves by age 19. And Alexi today is a global coach in personal transformation. Alexi Panos, very well known. And since the age of 20, put water wells in Tanzania, Africa. I think they now have 30 working water wells, her and her epic charity. And Stefana runs the Florida Freedom to Read project to fight against banning books, which is our American right to read what we choose. And she's been addressing Congress and the politics to help that. So, no matter what you are going through as a woman, single mom, or whatever, we can teach our children mindset for success and how to be successful as they get older.
I like that. I love how in your tone you sound so proud. You know what I mean?
I'm
You're a
very proud
proud
of my
mama,
girls. Yeah.
yeah, and that's a beautiful thing to have is just to know that despite not knowing what was going to happen after that divorce, you knew that was going to be the best move for your children. And look, the results are right there. So
Yeah.
I guess to lead to my next question is for you. For
Right.
you, the question is, what does improving your parent and child relationship, what does that make you think about when you add that improving portion to the mix?
Yeah. Well, we can't change the other person, right? I could not change their father, my partner, my husband at the time. He did steal $200,000 from my mother, which I told her I would pay her back as a single mom. That pushed me into working 5 jobs for about 16 years until I could pay 200,000 back. Back then, that's like a $500,000. That
Yeah.
was the challenge. I was only 24, 25 years old, and the girl's very young. And, so I knew that that was not easy. Back then, I did not know about childhood trauma. I got my triple master's in psychology as a licensed mental health counselor when I was in my 40s. So, year 2000, right? I got my license. And 2011 was when I started reading about childhood trauma,
Mhm.
which did not exist in the books. We did not hear that term in my triple masters. Now we heard about attachment styles and abandonment, but not, I created a checklist called the childhood trauma checklist, where once I found out that childhood trauma goes through 3 generations and it can be healed, I started putting together my books and my workbooks. I've written 13 books now, and some of them include my workbook for singles and for couples. And whatever I teach my clients, I want them to turn around and teach the children, right? It's really important, especially mindset work. So we can improve our relationships by first understanding what the top 10 childhood traumas are.
Mhm.
Two, doing your best not to engage your kids to endure or experience these top 10 traumas. And if you know they already are, creating a safe space and really open and empowered communication about feelings and plan A and plan B. I mean, one of the traumas is if you've been bullied. We as parents, aren't in the schools to stop it, but I was a school counselor.
Yeah.
So I handled bullying in the schools in New Jersey, and I worked up at Hackensack High School with tough kids. I mean, kids from gangs, the Crips, the Bloods, kids.
Mhm.
I had a girl go home and came back on a Monday and said, Miss Riana, my family moved out on me and they took everything but my bedroom furniture and left me a little bit of food, but the lights are off, you know? So, I mean, I had some really tough cases that I had to work with to make sure kids were okay. But I was able to empower her to keep strong with her grades, and I found her a place to stay, and all the kids gathered around and brought her goodie baskets and food and stuff. So, we helped her out right away, and she graduated with honors and was able to get scholarships. So now I said, you can be a victim of your circumstance, or we take what was happening and now we go into your plan B and make sure that you're going to be okay. And let's go for college now, So getting them into the mindset of success is so empowering for whatever kids go through. And I know there's a lot of divorced moms out there. So it's like we can't change what their dad has done or is constantly doing and sabotaging or manipulation if it's not a good relationship. But we can change the power of what we do for our kids. And that is written about a lot in my book, Live Beyond Your Dreams, From Fear and Doubt to Personal Power, Purpose, and Success. There's a chapter in there for parents and there's one in there for teens. So no matter what they go through, we can still give them this mindset of, I can do whatever I choose to do in my career, in my life, that they have some power over that.
Yeah, that is empowering. And I think at this moment in our lives, we need to really start to feel empowered because
Right.
there's so many ways for us to feel hurt, you know what I mean? To feel victimized and feel attacked. And it's like when we step into our empowerment, when we step into our true essence of who we are as a whole, then we are able to push forward despite the odds, despite the adversity. And I think
Yeah.
that's a beautiful story, like, oh my goodness, I couldn't imagine being that little girl. But I guess my question is, what does forgiveness make you think about?
Well, forgiveness comes from spirituality, and that's a really important part of healing. We have to forgive our moms and dads and that journey. An example of my mom never could say the words, I love you. And I asked her at age 24, there's five of us kids. I was number four. She did tell me, I'm sorry you turned out to be a girl. I really wanted two girls and two boys, and I was the third daughter. So I got that message when I was young. But then I asked her, why don't you ever tell us that? Well, I love you. That was her response. And I said, yeah, but kids need to hear the words, Mom. And she says, well, those aren't words I ever heard. Love was if you had food on the table. I grew up in the Great Depression.
Exactly.
And that's what love meant. We didn't need to hear the words. So again, we have to look at what did our parents go through? So I said to her, Mom, I'm sorry you didn't hear the words. I'm going to start telling you. And hopefully you'll be comfortable with those words so you can tell your grandchild when she or he is here. Back then, we couldn't tell the sex of the baby. That was
Yeah.
41 years ago. She did learn to say the words and she became a much kinder, more loving person, as time went on. So it's just interesting. And when I was on the beach with 9 people who were baby boomers like me, none of it, I love you. So, then what did our generation do? Like I was giving my kids lots of hugs and kisses and made sure they knew that I really loved them. But it didn't stop the childhood trauma outside world.
Yeah.
Right? From situations I couldn't control. So we can only control our own verbal messages to our kids, the way we love them, our quality time, what we're teaching them. All of that is super important. And the
Yeah, it really,
spiritual part is the faith that, we can overcome. And that's a big part of healing trauma.
yeah. I mean, it really does sound like to really improve your parent-child relationship, you got to have that understanding, which that comes with compassion, with that empathy that people sometimes lose when they have that understanding. You know what I mean? Because you understood that, oh, my family, my mother comes from a point of the Great Depression. That was a hard
Yeah.
time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was a very hard time. My grandfather's from the same wavelength, and I have understanding and I have compassion for him versus my mom who doesn't. I mean, she has resentment, she has that anger, but that's her choice. That's on her.
That's her
But
healing journey. Yeah, which is an
yeah,
important one. We all
yeah,
go through the healing of our childhood and love trauma. Usually, childhood
exactly.
trauma leads to love trauma and the partners that we're choosing. And most clients come to me for help with coaching once they've been through 2 or 3 toxic relationships. And they're like, what am I doing wrong? You know,
Yeah.
and they can't
Yeah.
understand it, and they can't seem to change the normal patterns that keep happening over and over and over again. So that's when we take the subconscious and make you more consciously aware in everything you do, you say, you write, and you practice these behaviors within yourself, your self messages, with your children, with those you date, are involved
Yeah.
with, and with your friends, to the
That's
point where now the conscious awareness is taking over the subconscious ruling of the norms from your past. So when people
yeah.
say, oh, must have chemistry, chemistry takes you to the past dynamic. So falling in love by chemistry is one of the worst things you can do.
Oh,
You have
I
to be more
know, right?
consciously aware when you're choosing a
Yeah.
partner.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. It can't just be, oh, it made me feel butterflies in the stomach. So what are you going to do when that disappears? Are you still going to
And
be
love
in love? You
bombing.
know what I mean?
Yeah. Love bombing is the
Exactly.
sign of a narcissist. So some people are like, oh my God, I finally have this best partner who's really loving me like crazy. And it's like, better be careful.
hmm
Better know
Danger.
the
It
new
could be
rules of love.
danger.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm curious. Why do you think it is difficult for parents to see their child as an adult child instead of still that little child that they
15-year
remember?
old.
Yeah, that little 3-year old, that 5-year old, whatever age that parent has stuck or stopped seeing their child grow. I mean, how do they have that connection, or where is that disconnect? You know what I mean?
Well, there shouldn't be a disconnect, right? You should celebrate every stage with your kids as they're growing and accomplishing and maturing, their new stage as a mother, their new stage as a business or career woman, their new stage. And, my daughter came out with a huge article in the Sentinel, and I reposted it. It's like, really proud of you, honey, getting this article out there. So, there's every stage can be celebrated, and it should be. We will always have love and compassion for the little child that we remember in our sons and
Mhm.
daughters, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, but we also have to celebrate them in adulthood and, realize that's an important stage for them. And, when I see the traditions that I used to kids. Like, we did birthday fairy. So when my kids woke up when they were little, there were balloons and presents. Like, it's like the birthday fairy came, you know. Well, now Alexi's just said we celebrate his birthday, but we don't their birthday. They have 4 children, but we don't call it the birthday fairy because that's made up. So they just know on their birthdays they wake up to a big celebration with balloons and gifts. But it's nice to see those traditions continue, you
Yeah.
know. I think that I dreamed that up when I was a kid that the birthday fairy would come visit me, and it never did. So, yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I
That's how the
think
tradition started. So I did it for my kids, and then they're doing it for theirs in a different way. So it's
yeah,
cute.
you just
Yeah.
alter it just a little bit just so that it ease into your mind. But I think you're right when you said like when we are parents, we have to be proud of our children as they grow, as they evolve, and everything that they put on because it just shows and it reflects like we are able to allow them to be who they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Allow them to be them as humans because it seems like a lot of the times, or in your opinion, since you have the education to understand this, because I've seen it before and I'm always stuck like, why? How can a parent be jealous of a child? Or how can a parent have resentment for a child and just
Yeah.
push it
That's
away? Like
happening.
I don't understand that. I mean, for you, I mean, what have you come to terms when you've seen that in around your life?
Um, well, I haven't really seen that often. What I see more so is parents ignoring the signals of pain.
Oh, that's
For
valid.
example, my very best childhood friend was killed by a drunk driver when I was 16.
So sorry.
And when I lost Michael, I asked my mom, can I go to a counselor? I'm really struggling with this loss. And she says, no one in this family will ever go to a counselor because it was
Oh,
shameful back then. Right. And I'm like, then
yeah.
I'm going to grow up and become one because kids like me need help, And then instead, I turned to books like the Dalai Lama and Deepak Chopra and Wayne Dyer and Tony Robbins. And that's how my mindset journey started at age 16, 17. So I've been teaching mindset for over 40 years. But seeing the signals, of your kids, if they're saying someone's bullying, just don't say, well, fight back or,
Yeah.
just ignore them. No, that's ignoring the problem. And it's a huge problem in the schools. As the SAC counselor, student assistance counselor, I was in grades kindergarten all the way through college. So all different grade levels, and I was the safe space. And I came up with a program in the elementary school called Stand Up for Friendship, where they would each have a bully busting buddy. And if somebody saw their friend was being picked on, they'd come run to Miss Riana and say, "Hey, Miss Riana, Billy needs help. So and so's picking on at recess, or let's go down to Miss Riana's together and solve the problem." And the bullying just went away. It was an amazing program, and it was televised and everything else. So, seeing the problems, addressing them. Also, I worked with a lot of kids that were said that they had ADHD. Well, a lot of these kids were coming from traumatic homes where they'd wake up to fighting, or they'd be up all night hearing their parents screaming, or their mom didn't even come home that night. So these are traumatic homes that I was working in South Jersey. And, I had meditation in my office. It was called Miss Riana's Relaxation Room, where they would come in, or we do music therapy. And one of the singers I felt really impacted my kids was Louis Miguel. And I don't speak Spanish, but I love his music. And I put it on, or they come into my office in the morning. Miss Riana put Mr. Louis on. I said, "You have a rough night?" He goes, "Yeah." So we just talk and the music would play, and it affects the brain waves. So it actually was able to calm that child down to go to class. And if we can calm down the cortisol levels in the body, the memory and focus goes up. Now, this isn't just children, this is for adults. So adults say, "Oh, I have adult ADHD," or "I can't focus." Well, what's going on in your world? So all my clients do what we call divine spiritual meditation, which is 15 minutes to calm the brain waves and have the brain reattach with the body to help calm everything down. So it's proven that meditation eases anxiety, depression, lowers cortisol, fight, flight, or freeze response, and lowers blood pressure, and then increases focus, dopamine, and serotonin levels of the brain. So all of our people meditate 15 minutes a day. And that's what I was doing with the children. And we found that their grades went up. So, don't be so fast to throw ADHD meds at them. What else are you trying? Music therapy, positive modification. I had little star charts all the way around the rooms in my office. So if they did good, they get a star on their folder and run it down and show me. And then they pick a star and put it on their chart. And if they filled out the whole row, they went into my treasure chest and chose a prize. Now, that's called external gratification or modification, where you get an actual surprise. Then what happens over time, it becomes internal modification. They like who they are. Their grades are going up. They're not acting out. Their teacher likes them better. The kids like them better because they're not picking on the kids, So this behavior modification is talked about in the Live Beyond Your Dreams book, but anyone can do it. And as a parent, I did star chart at home for my kids. So what a lot of parents do is yell and scream at their kids, or they ground them. That's the worst thing you can do. You're teaching them to be angry. Yeah. So, kids aren't, quote, supposed to know better. You're supposed to know better. No, they're not. Okay. It's our job to teach them. And the word discipline, it comes from the Bible. It means to teach, right? Yeah. So it is our job to teach them life skills. So instead of you have to do this and you have to do that, you ask them, how do you think we can solve this problem? Let's come up with 3 ideas. Now you're teaching critical thinking and life skills. So when my girls were out on their own, they could handle challenges that are supposed to come up in life. What's my plan A? What's my plan B? How can I handle this? Because I wasn't the one dictating the solutions. They would come up with the solutions.
Exactly. And that is a beautiful gift to give them, because you can die today knowing that you have peace of mind that your children will be mentally have the capability to handle whatever that comes across them. And that is something that I think every parent wants for their children. I mean, I know I want that for my children.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's hearing that about you and the implements that you've taken for your own family and for the children of the school district in New Jersey. Oh my goodness, it's a beautiful thing because it makes people
Thanks.
realize like somebody has to care. And when you just
Yeah.
act like you care or just show that true initiative, like I care about your well-being, they will start caring about their well-being. You know what I mean? So I applaud you for that. So I have a quote
Thank
here,
you.
and I would love to know your opinion on this because
Okay.
I'm a quote queen. I love my quotes. So the
Okay.
quote goes, with a child-parent relationship, it's not the child's job to empathize with and support the parent. It's the parent's job to empathize and support the child. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's true. You don't want the child parenting you. You have to get your help. Don't talk to the child about all your problems, about the divorce, about their parent. Kids want both parents to love them, even if the other one is toxic. You can't bring up your adult mess to your kids. So turn
Mm.
to a counselor, a therapist, or a coach like me that teaches empowerment and the skills to move forward from the toxic love relationship. You've got to get back on your feet. You owe that to your kids. You've got to be mentally healthy. The healthier and happier the mom or the primary parent that they're living with, the happy and healthier the kids. So don't turn to your kids for discussion or support. They don't have the mental capacity to do that. They don't come into their emotional maturity until about 23 for girls and 26 for guys. Okay, so if you have a struggling teen, age 16 to 30, an adult child, let's say they didn't go to school and they're floundering, or they did go off to college or done college, they can't find a job. They're stuck in transition. You need to get them a good coach. And I have a personal transformation class for that age group to help launch them into greatness. Now, at age 5, Alexi was watching the TV and saw Save the Children commercial and says, Mom, I'm going to go save those kids in Africa one day. And I said, Babe, I believe you will. Then at 15, she wanted to be a singer. The world aligned. I said, okay, I've managed model, actors, singers, dancers since 26 with a talent agency, but let me see what I have to do. Let's both read up on it. Let's make this happen. So the world aligned. She met 3 great record producers, and one of them did sign her. And she's on 3 multi-platinum CDs. They went on a world tour. She ends up in Africa, looks down, and she goes, now's the time to help save these kids. So one dream that I said, that's a beautiful dream. Don't ever forget it. You will do this one day. And at 20, she started putting water wells in Africa, right? So teach them to believe in themselves, to believe in their dreams. No dream is stupid.
Yeah.
So what if she wants to be a singer? Well, the world aligned that 3 different record producers wanted to sign
Yeah.
her, right? I mean, I did put her in singing classes, but that was at age 14, 15. It wasn't like she sang her whole life. And she was, in dance classes as a young girl. It's like, you have the skills, let's make it happen.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
it's just believing in your kids and, believing in their dreams and supporting them in
Yeah.
those dreams, right? So, and then
Exactly.
having a plan B. I said, okay, if singing doesn't work out, what's our plan B? Well, I want to go to school for interior design. So we got to college, and then she got her offers, and I said, you can always go back to college, right? So
Mm.
today she's a multimillionaire and did not have to go to college.
And it's
Funny,
only
she
because
entered
you believed.
she entered college for water engineering. She goes,
Uh-huh.
Mom, they're asking me to teach a class on how did I put in the fresh water wells. I'm like, what do you think? She goes, I don't think I need to pay for this. I'm already doing it. I'm like, okay. So she never got a college degree, and she's always created her own career. She saw a parent that always created a business, me, with no money. I
Mm.
never got a business loan. So, I'd have an idea. I did marketing, I did PR, and I would involve the kids in my business. So start early, have your kids work early. My kids, one worked in the talent agency that I started at 26 years old. The other one worked in her father's restaurant. So they knew business, they knew how to work with adults, they had something on their resume.
Yeah.
And Steph went to 2 years, got associates, and then started working for Disney and Universal. And then, she just worked her way up in various restaurants as manager because they're hustlers. They know how to
Yeah.
work hard and they're smart,
Yeah.
So college isn't always the route for everyone.
Yeah,
You can be a survivor if you have the mindset instilled in
exactly.
you since you were young. So
Oh,
it's super important.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a beautiful thing for us all to remember, especially as parents. Like, we really drive the directions to our children. So it's like the best way to improve that relationship with your child is to improve the relationship that you have within yourself, because it's going to only ooze
Correct.
out into your children. So if you don't love yourself, if you don't respect yourself, if you have no good things to say about yourself, that's going to leap onto your children and have a ripple effect onto their lives. So yes, I agree 100%. We have to put that faith back. We have to put that belief back. We have to put that critical thinking back, because as soon as somebody can think, they can solve. They can see a
Yeah.
problem and solve it. And that's basically what you taught your daughters. You taught them how to solve a problem. And so many people out here do not know how to solve problems. They only know how to complain about their problems. And
Yeah.
that's
And that
something
doesn't
that they
solve
can,
anything.
and it doesn't solve anything. Exactly. But it's
That's what
sad
we
that
call the victim mindset, right? If you have a
exactly.
victim mindset, you're living in the dark side and you're going to stay stuck there. I had no time to be a victim. I was
Exactly.
26
No time.
years old due to the fact of that loan to my mother from my mother that was never paid back. That was 200,000 and he had 750,000 in business debt. So that was over $1 million. I had a bankrupt at 25 as a
Oh,
single mom of two kids, and I didn't get a thing for it. So what did I do? I didn't wallow in pity. I said, what can I do? I did modeled since I was 12. I can open up a model and talent agency with my first month's rent, be creative, get people in the door. My first class started with 4 people. Within 6 months, I went into a contest in LA. The International Model and Talent Association won educational excellence for the program and the book that I wrote. And then from there, within the year, I won the Global Award of Model and Talent School of the Year in New York. So after that, I had 25 people and a waiting list. And then I created summer camps, modeling school for kids who are off for the summer. And in a week, I'd make $18,000. That was a lot of money back then.
yeah.
And then by 27 years old, I had my first home. By 30, I bought a second home for my school, my talent school and agency, remodeled the whole thing. And so I had 2 properties by 30, even though I was bankrupt at 26. So, like, you can't stay in victim mode. It's always, what can I do? How can I be creative? How can I think outside of the box and, make this business thrive?
Yeah, exactly. We most definitely have to get ourselves out of that victim mindset, that
Yeah.
pity party. Don't throw up that pity party. Don't you dare put those banners up. Don't you dare blow up those balloons for that pity party. We don't need that. You got to keep going and moving forward.
You got
Goodness
that
gracious.
right.
Right? Exactly. So it's sad to know that the time is catching up to us. And man, I always enjoyed my time with you, Rihanna. I really do.
Thanks, Mitzi.
So I guess to start wrapping up the show, what can be some lasting words that we can all keep on thinking? Even though, let's be honest, this whole entire conversation could keep us all thinking, but what can be some lasting words?
Well, my quote is, now is the time to create the life you desire and have the love that you deserve. And don't wait. I've learned as a young girl, time is fast and we never know how much we've been given. And my other quote is, you can't change what you don't know, acknowledge, or understand. So if you don't understand why you're choosing toxic partners or understand how to get out of that fear based negative mindset, go to my website. I have a ton of free resources. It's rianamilne.com. And on the homepage, there's a free ebook, How to Have the Love You Deserve. There is free book chapter downloads of my #1 bestsellers, Love Beyond Your Dreams, Break Free of Toxic Relationships to Have the Love You Deserve, and Live Beyond Your Dreams, the ones I talked about today on mindset. And then there's the 4 free love tests. One is judging if you have childhood trauma, right? It's a simple 10-point quiz, and you will understand what childhood trauma is and if you have them. And
Mhm.
there's a partner red flag checklist. You should do that one. And then reach out to me if you want to do a discovery session. It's on super promotion right now, just to get the ball rolling, to get your life together and that of your children, so that your children aren't the 3rd generation again going through childhood trauma.
Oh, yeah, exactly. These are beautiful words that we all need to remember so that we can keep on thinking. I mean, goodness gracious. we need to start working on ourselves to be able to work on the next generation, because the next generation, we won't know what's going to happen. I mean, because we'll be long gone and dead in the
Yeah.
grave, you know? So it's
I
just
feel
like,
bad for the little ones coming up and watching my grandchildren and going through the COVID and these mass shootings and looking at war. I mean,
yeah,
it's every generation suffers with something. And it's not only
exactly.
the parents' fault, right? It's what is in our environment. And we can't control all of that, but we can control the messages and love and emotion we give our kids. So that's
Exactly.
the part we want to do in a healthy way, and empower them to talk about their feelings and then do something about it, not negate it.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Not neglect it, not act like it's not
Yeah.
there. Let's not act like it's not happening to them. There's no such thing as being too young to feel any emotions. No, if they are young and they're expressing their emotions, listen. Oh,
Exactly.
listen. All you need to do is just listen, because they may be feeding you knowledge that you don't even know you need. It's an
Yeah.
amazing thing. You never know who you can learn from. Even your children can teach you something. And
Absolutely.
sometimes they all they want to teach you is just have some love for yourself, you know? So that is something that we all need to think about. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, please go check out Rihanna, because how could you not? She has so much great content on her website. She
Oh,
really
thank you.
does. You really do. You really do. No hype,
Yeah.
no, nothing else. Just honest sincerity. Rihanna is really trying to change the way that people are struggling so that we don't have to struggle anymore. So please go get those free resources. Go check out, go communicate with her, because speaking with Rihanna, man, will help you resolve any issues that you may be enduring, or provide you the answer that you may be missing, whatever it may be. We all know there's something. So why not check it out,
Yeah.
right?
And
So,
also, Mitzi, I have a podcast I forgot to mention,
oh
Lessons in
yeah.
Life and Love with Coach Riana Milne. And that's on every podcast channel. And my YouTube channel is like over 300 tapes for free that you can watch. So do empower yourself, do listen, do learn to help our kids today, because they really, really need the support and love.
Exactly. You're only doing yourself a disservice and doing your environment a disservice by not even trying to discover within how you can love, how you can heal, how you can just have that joy back, that peace back that we all sincerely need. So, with that being said, please go check her out. I have her lovely photo on my website along with her website so that you can continue on thinking. So, with that being said, bye.